Bitcoin hit all-time highs, but everybody keeps asking, where is Altseason? What if I told you that the answer actually lays in the chart? In today's video, I'm going to be going through some of these altcoin charts and comparing how they line up very similarly to 2017 and 2021 before they went parabolic. And if we get an end to quantitative tightening and rate cuts in Q3 of this year, that could give us the fuel that we need for Altseason. But before I do that, I ask for one small favor. Please hit the like and hit the subscribe button for future content. Now let's get into some of the charts that I want to show in this video. Alright, so the first chart I wanted to go through was Ethereum. Ethereum is obviously the largest coin in the altcoin space, and that's the one that's most important coin if we are going to see the all anticipated Altseason. Okay, if we are going to get Altseason, we need Ethereum to start moving higher, right? So this time I want to compare 2017 to 2025. Okay, what did we have last time? So we basically came down the bear market. Okay, we came down the bear market, we got a leg higher, right? We got a leg higher. Now I want you to pay attention, stay with me here. We came down, we got a leg higher, right? After that, we got this broadening wedge pattern. Okay, you can see that just like this time around, we've got this broadening wedge formation. Okay, looks very similar. However, the only difference is last time we took out the lows over here. You could argue that we went into a recession because of COVID, but we did take out these lows and ultimately reversed and moved higher. As soon as we broke that the wedge pattern, you can see we've got the explosive move higher. So this is what I'm anticipating this time around as well. When we broke it, we got a 16x. I'm not expecting anything like that again, okay? But we could expect from here maybe a 2x, okay? Maybe a 2x at best, if we get the liquidity conditions required for Altseason, okay? That is a big if. We do not know if we are going to get the liquidity conditions that we had back in 2021 and also in 2017. Okay, my best case scenario on Ethereum would be around $10,000. So still, if you bought Ethereum around 1400, that's still a 6x, which is no joke. That is no joke, guys. Okay, a 6x is not a joke. That is very nice returns. Even if you bought say 2000, you're still getting a 4x. Nothing to roll your eyes over. Okay, let's take a look at ADA. And ADA looks similar to what happened in 2018 bear market before the parabolic run in 2021. It looks like we are setting up for that once again. Okay, if you see, we've got a low here. So we started making these high-low formations. You could argue that the only reason we didn't shoot straight up was because of COVID. Okay, this is the reason why we came back down. So if we ignore COVID and say if we were here, we would have gone straight up and then came back down. That is similar to what we're seeing right now. So we come down, we come back up, we come down, we come back up, we come back down, and then you get the explosive move. Down, up, down, up, down, big explosion, right? So you can see how that is lining up very, very nicely to what happened prior bull market, okay? Very, very, very similar kind of setup on ADA. I do not think we're going to get, from here, ADA got a 32x. That's not happening in my opinion. I think even something above the all-time highs would be a fantastic return on ADA. You're still looking at around 7 or 8x. Now let's look at Dogecoin. 3 cycles for Dogecoin. Okay, it's been around for a long time, since 2013, the OG meme coin, right? As you can see, when we bottom in the bear market and the accumulation phase, we have these higher lows, right? You can see that in 2015, we got these higher lows, and then we get the explosive move higher. So let's look at this. So we come down, we go up, we come down, we go up, we come down, and then we get the explosive move higher, right? Pretty similar to ADA, right? Down, down, explosion, right? Down, down, explosion. Let's look at this one. In the 2020 bull market, down, up. You could argue this low only happened because of the recession. So let's put it up here, down, up, down, explosion, right? Same exact type of setup in the prior bear market before we got the big explosive move higher. Now look what's happening, right? Now look what's happening. Down, right? Down, up, down, explosive move higher, right? This is what we can all expect next. This is the exact kind of setup we've had in the previous 2 bear markets that set up for this explosive move higher. Now, the bad thing is, well, not a bad thing, but these accumulation zone, they take 3 years before you get a 4 or 5 month pump. I mean, is it worth it to hold these for 4 or 5 months? In my opinion, absolutely not, right? This is why you should be investing in Bitcoin. And once you've made a significant amount of profits in your Bitcoin holdings, you can then start to allocate small amounts into some of this stuff, because this stuff only gets going towards the end of the cycle. And for me, the end of the we're closer to an end of the cycle than we are to the start of the cycle. So investing anywhere here would not have made any sense. You were better off investing in Bitcoin, right? But if you're investing now towards the end of the cycle, it now starts to make sense as to why investors will start to give some attention to some of these altcoins, because they are setting up exactly the same as what happened in prior bull market explosive moves. I don't think we're going to get the same level of explosion we saw before. This was a 30x, right, on Dogecoin. This was a 94x. Yeah, that's not the kind of levels that you're going to see this time. Even if you get a 10x this time, you've done well, right? You've done superbly, in my opinion. I don't think you're going to get these massive explosions, because I do not think monetary conditions by the Federal Reserve, the way the higher interest rates, we are just not in that environment, in my opinion. So even if you take 10x from here, even if a 9x to $1, right? dollars, like a lot of people's targets on Dogecoin, is still a 7x, nothing to roll your eyes over. But I think this is where most people are going to get caught out, because they're going to expect the same level of returns that we saw in prior bull markets, right? But I just don't think we have the conditions to get these type of explosive moves higher. Plus, obviously, it's a bigger market now. It takes more liquidity to move it, and I just don't think we have we don't have the environment. Fed is not going to print. We know they're not going to print money, that's for sure. And rates are still very, very high, okay, compared to what we had in prior bull markets, right? We had very low rates, easy money. When credit is loose, that's when times are easy. That's when money flows in to the riskier stuff, okay? Those conditions are not present right now. So if you can get a return of 7x, you take it and you run for the hills, in my opinion. Okay, you run for the hills. Those are the charts that I wanted to show you guys. I don't know how long this accumulation is going to take before you see this explosive move. I do not know. We could come down here again and then go back up, right? I'm not telling you it's going to happen next week, next month, next 2 months. My point is that the setup is very, very similar to when it happens. In prior bull markets, this is the same type of pattern that happened in the past. What happened in the past does not mean it has to happen again in the future. So if you are still investing in some of this, do not put an insane amount of your portfolio in altcoins, okay? Because they can go either direction. So those are the charts that I wanted to share with you guys, okay? I hope those charts have helped. So guys, in 2017 and in 2021, Altseason just didn't happen on hype. We had the perfect macro backdrop, and this is the primary reason why we have not seen Altseason in this cycle just yet. So right now, we have still very high rates. We still have the Fed still doing quantitative tightening. However, the good news is DXY has been coming down considerably, and also Bitcoin dominance looks like it could be about to put in a top. Not only that, I want to show you another chart that tells us or shows us that Altseason might just be a lot sooner than we think. So I want to show you those two charts right now. Let's take a look. Okay, so the first chart that I wanted to show you guys was Bitcoin dominance. And Bitcoin dominance is one of the most important charts in the altcoin space, because once Bitcoin dominance rolls over and you get a rotation into altcoins, so liquidity starts flowing into altcoins, Bitcoin dominance essentially it tops, and then you get the Altseason that we've all been waiting for. So what I've done with this BTC dominance chart is I've inversed the chart, okay? Because I want to see where the support level is and where we could expect to see a top. So what I mean by that is, if we find the support level, we could expect a bounce from there, which means if you inverse it back to normal, that means a top on Bitcoin dominance. It's at 64% right now, and if you see here, I use volume to do all my technical analysis. I use volume profile, and I use LVNs, which are low volume nodes on this point of control, and one obvious one is right here, right? This one is an LVN, and that one right now stands currently at 66.18%. If that does not provide a bounce, which means a top on Bitcoin dominance, and we don't roll over, then the next one would be 71%. All right, would be the edge of this, basically the value area low of this whole big node that we have here, right, would be around 71%. So where do we bounce? I do think we're going to come down and touch the 66.18 level, and then we need to see what the macro environment looks like at that point. If it still isn't prime for true alt season, then one could expect a move down to 70 to 71%, and then maybe we get the reversal. Will we get a full-blown alt season and this rotates all the way back up to here? I don't think so. I do not think we're going to get that move. I do think we'll get some form of an alt season, if you want to call it that, but you will see an outperformance by altcoins. If you look at this Bitcoin dominance chart, you can see since 2021, altcoins have been bleeding out against Bitcoin, right? So you would not have been wise to hold altcoins versus Bitcoin. Some have outperformed Bitcoin, yes, but majority of altcoins, because this is pretty much the whole index, has been going down since 2021 against Bitcoin. So I do not think we're going to get all the way back down here. I do think we'll get a nice alt season, but just not to the same levels as we saw in prior bull markets. Now, another key chart that I wanted to show you guys is this. This one is a chart of the total 3 index, which is the top 100, I believe, the top 100 crypto coins, total 3 minus USDT minus divided by Bitcoin. Okay, that's what that represents. Now this is pretty much the same chart that it looks exactly like this, right? It looks exactly like this. If I take this off, right? If I take all this off, it looks pretty much identical, right? These two charts look very, very similar. Again, alt season. This is your alt season. This is your alt season. Okay. This metric measures total 3 against Bitcoin, basically, right? And you can see it's just been bleeding against Bitcoin. And that happened last time as well. Before we bottomed, we got a little explosive move back up, and we got alt season. This was your alt season, right? That was your alt season. One observation that I've made with this is before that alt season happens, we kind of put in this type of pattern, right? A low, and then we get a sweep of those lows, right? We get a deviation, we go back into the range, and that's when we get alt season. Although we came down here, we did not take out this low. So that was the bottom. We sweep, it's basically a liquidity sweep. We go up, we come back, right? Pretty similar again to the other bull market that we saw, the other alt season that we saw. We got a low, another low, and then a deviation. So we see a deviation here, okay, a larger deviation than this one, a very bigger deviation, but ultimately that got us alt season, right? So low, sweep, back in, alt season. Pretty much similar to what we're setting up right now, right? Low, another low. Could we get the sweep? Back in, alt season, right? Looks that way to me. How far down this comes, I do not know. Is anybody's guess. Is anybody's guess, right? But how far down it comes will determine how far this comes down. Okay, does it come down to 66, or does it come down to 70, 71, right? That will be dependent on how far this moves down. Does it come down to these range lows all the way down to 0.26, 0.25, or do we just get a wick like we saw here? It was still a pretty big move down, okay? And at least for me to the 0.331, a wick, I would expect that at least, right? At least to 0.3 and then a move back up. Can it come further? Sure. Can it come further? Sure. My point is, right, all of these charts that I'm showing you are all lining up for one thing: alt season. Now, I've shown you the setups on the altcoins. I'm showing you the setups on the Bitcoin dominance, and this chart that measures altcoins against Bitcoin. And they're all showing the same thing. That altcoin season might be closer to what we think. So what has that meant? It has meant that if you have been holding altcoins for the previous 3 years, you have lost purchasing power against Bitcoin. So you have lost a lot of value. So you would have been better off just holding Bitcoin. However, that might just be changing, right? So I could not blame you right now if you were to allocate some of those profits from Bitcoin into some altcoins at this stage in the cycle, especially if we get Fed to cut rates and end their QT program, as some analysts have suggested, by Q3 of this year. So things are starting to look ready. Now let me know what your favorite top altcoins that you are watching. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe for future videos. Thanks for watching. Peace.